Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. In this week's news, public safety leaders favor a hospital, DECA partnering with Rescue Group to help get dogs adopted, and Youth Assistance hosting a yoga fundraiser.
Stay tuned. Learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. Oxford Village resident Mike Young characterized his most recent municipal water bill as a mystery. He was shocked when he received a household water bill at his Oxford Lakes home for, get this, 114,000 gallons of water between August 16th and September 16th. He was charged over $450 plus $200 for an equal amount of sewage. Village water customers are charged around $4 for every 1,000 gallons of water they use and $1.75 for every 1,000 gallons of sewage they produce. In Young's case, the reading was found to be accurate. He was told to check his problems on his end. According to village clerk and treasurer Teresa Onika, when residents come in with complaints, 95% are resolved by the resident. Onika advises residents to keep a close eye on their water bills and usage to avoid surprises. That would be more than a surprise, it'd be a shock.
Local officials are not cheering the state's decision to reject Beaumont Hospital's application to build in Oxford Township. Last month, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services issued a 5-page proposed decision informing Beaumont Hospital its Certificate of Need application had not been approved. The application was to construct an almost 140,200,000 square foot hospital on 25 acres on the east side of M24. The lack of population within the area and within 30 minutes driving time of the site was the state's reasoning for the application being rejected. Beaumont has until October 22nd to request an appeal hearing. Oxford Township trustee Jack Curtis said he was told by a Beaumont representative that the hospital is planning to appeal. I hope they do.
If you thought you had to put away your swim gear for the year, think again. Splash Zone is new to Oxford and is open for business. Opening this past summer, Splash Zone is an independently owned and operated swim school open to all ages and all levels. The school is open 7 days a week, giving members plenty of opportunities to be in the water. They offer swim classes, open swim, or 3 different fitness classes.
On October 22nd, Brain Balance in Oxford is hosting an evening where families and community members are invited to hear from a bat education expert before heading to the Pollyant Trail to see the bats in action. After the hike, cider and donuts and gluten-free options from Yates Cider Mill will be available to all participants. This time of year, bat activity is at one of its highest points, so they're confident guests will learn and enjoy the changing colors of the season and learn about the bats. For more information and to RSVP for the free event, call Brain Balance at 248-716-5400. The event starts at 6 p.m.
A group of Oxford High School DECA students have partnered with the Oxford Canine Stray Rescue League to host a community-wide event. OHS seniors Holly Disrotchers, Tommy Smalley, and junior Trent Brown are teaming up with Canine Rescue for an adoption dog walking event. The event will be held Sunday, October 20th at Seymour Lake Park from 11 to 3 p.m. There will be food, inflatables, cutest dog contest, vendors, and much more. Proceeds from the event will go towards renovations for the rescue center.
As members of the United Auto Workers continue their nationwide strike against GM, Oxford Community School has help available for affected students. Students may qualify for free or reduced price meals for lunch and breakfast. Those interested in applying are encouraged to do so online at www.lunch-app.com. That's really cool that they're doing that.
Yes, I think that's
Yay
great.
for the school.
Yeah, and I think it's great that these students got involved with the dog walk also.
Yeah.
Puppy, doggies, any kind of doggy.
But you know that you said something about inflatables. I wonder how those dogs do jumping on those inflatables.
I don't know. That'd be interesting. Maybe we should have a camera out
We
there.
should go out there and look. Yeah, that's good. That's really cool. The kids are community conscientious, and those DECA students are business oriented. So it's really nice that they're partnering with Canine Stray Rescue. They're trying to raise funds to build a new building. They've kind of outgrown where they're at. I saw an ad on Facebook that they're all of a sudden this week was a big week or a bad week for them. They've got a lot of dogs in
Yeah,
this week.
and I'll tell you what, if you folks would like a puppy, there's a chance to go out, check it out.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
there's something for everybody out there.
There
They're
is.
on Metamora Road, 1022 Metamora Road, or I
Yes,
can't remember
right. If you get there, you're close enough.
Yeah. So I wanted to say a little bit about the Beaumont thing. I know that I've heard good and bad, or people for it and people against it in the community. And it certainly will change the face of our community. There's no doubt about that. I saw Rochester grow after Crittenton came in, and whatever it is now, I never remember. But you know, this area, Metamora, Hadley, Brandon, Oxford, even Lake Orion, we all have to drive a half hour to get to a hospital at the very least.
Oh, yeah.
We're lucky if it's only a half hour. So I sure hope that, and I probably shouldn't even have said on the air my opinion, but I would like to see Jack Curtis try to negotiate something.
Jack isn't going to give up on this one, I can tell you.
I didn't think so.
He's right on top of it. You've got John Riley, who's representative of the state here, and
right.
he's going to provide an investigation as to why it was declined, because originally I understand that the state actually came to us, Oxford.
Right.
And then they turned it
To
down.
encourage us to bring in a hospital of some sort, right?
Right.
And then, so Beaumont got right on it and did what they needed to do. Unfortunately, maybe the hospital's too big. I don't know what. I don't. But it'd be nice to see John Riley help.
Yeah, he's pretty aggressive. He's going to do what he thinks he needs in terms of best for the community. I did talk to a number of people about this hospital. They're all elated in the fact that it would be coming in here. This is certainly a community which has professionals, and it will attract professionals, of course, with the hospital.
It would certainly be an economic boom for Oxford. There's people that really don't want that crowd, but progress happens.
Progress
And we
does.
need it. There's a lot of people now in this community that weren't here 20 years ago. And I remember doing icy drives up to Lapeer in the middle of the night in January to hit the emergency room. And that's quite a long drive for people.
Absolutely.
When there's an emergency. That's pretty scary. So anyhow, there's our opinion. I did give my opinion. I'm sorry I did. But I mean it. I really think that it would be a good thing for Oxford. So that's it for Oxford News this week. If you'd like to learn more about these stories and others, you can pick up a copy of that Oxford Leader newspaper, or better yet, catch us on our website, occtv.org, on YouTube, and of course our regular Charter Channel 191 and AT&T Channel 99. And you can also catch a lot of our stuff on Facebook.
All right, coming up soon, OCTV's very own Cody Wright with School Sports, School News, incorporating great topics with Alexis Ware, and you won't want to miss Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kenny.
I'm Terry Stiles. Thanks for watching Oxford News this week, where we bring your news closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, something strange is going on in the deep sea. Luminous bacteria have teamed with predatory anglerfish, which may use the glowing microbes to help catch prey. The bacteria have evolved to depend on the anglerfish, yet they spend much of their time floating free in the water. Anglerfish are predatory fish with large teeth. On their forehead, they have a long, thin growth called an esca, which resembles a fishing line. The tip of the esca is often luminous. Many anglerfish live in the pitch-black deep sea and may use the glow to lure in prey. Little is known about them, says Tori Hendry of Cornell University in New York. For instance, there is no evidence that the esca is a lure, other than the fact that it looks like a lure, she says. However, we do know that many anglerfish have bacteria living in their escas which supply the light. Hendry's team has previously found that these bacteria have lost about 50% of their DNA, and with it, many abilities. They rely on glucose from the host, she says. This discovery implies that the bacteria spend all their lives inside the anglerfish. In line with this, the team found that 2 anglerfish species each had their own species of bacteria. Hendry's team now has overturned this. The researchers sequenced the DNA of the bacteria found in escas of 7 anglerfish species belonging to 6 genera. One species of anglerfish had its own unique bacteria, but the others all shared the same species of bacteria. The only explanation is that the bacteria live in the water and the anglerfish collect them, says Hendry. This implies the bacteria are widespread, as the anglerfish from both the North Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico had the same species. There has to be an environmental pool that all these fish are getting their symbiosis from, said Hendry. In that case, why have the bacteria lost so many genes, making it harder for them to survive alone? The team found signs of rogue pieces of DNA called transposable elements, which can disrupt genes and may have triggered the losses. It may not have been adaptive, says Hendry. The secret to the bacteria's survival may be in a chemical called polyhydrobutyrate, or PHB. Many bacteria use it to store carbon for lean periods. We found the genes in the genome, so we know they have the capacity to synthesize and degrade this molecule, says Hendry. She suggests that the bacteria might accumulate glucose from anglerfish, then store it as PHB and live off that when they return to the water. Pretty smart. In our next story, prosthetic legs with sensors can help people avoid unseen obstacles underfoot. 3 people who have had a leg amputated found that they perceive such prostheses as an extension of their own body and were able to climb stairs more quickly than they could with a conventional prosthetic leg. Prosthetic limbs are often abandoned due to people's poor mobility when using them. The devices don't restore sensation, leaving people to rely on touch feedback from the stump meeting the socket. Stanisha Raspopovich at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich and his colleagues modified a commercially available prosthetic leg by adding sensors to an insole on the foot and inside the knee. Electrical signals from these regions were then delivered through tiny electrodes implanted in the nerves in the participant's thigh. When the foot touches the ground or when the knee bends, those nerves carry signals to the brain and allow the individual to more quickly and precisely adjust how they are walking. The team recently found that this prosthetic leg helped 2 people feel less fatigue and phantom limb pain and helped them to navigate an outdoor track more quickly than when the sensors weren't on. In this study, Raspopovich's team found that the blindfolded participants could tell which part of their foot was being touched about 90% of the time. Then the participants tried the legs while climbing stairs and walked over obstacles that they couldn't see. These tasks are extremely difficult for people wearing traditional prostheses, says Raspopovich. Participants were able to walk up and down stairs an average of 30% faster when the sensory input was turned on. Similarly, they were up to 7 times more likely to fall over when unseen object without input from the sensors. The technology behind prosthetic limbs has been advancing rapidly in recent years, and different types of controllable prostheses convert electrical signals from the brain or body into movements in the device, which is especially useful in controlling the fine movements of the hand. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.
Hello everyone and welcome back. Everything's still settling down from homecoming weekend and the events leading up to it. Remember that the homecoming parade and game is up now on our Facebook and YouTube pages. You can also catch it on our local cable channel Spectrum 191 and AT&T channel 99. Coming up on October 22nd, Brain Balance will be hosting one of their many events, this time on the Polly Trail as well as the Oxford Public Library. They'll be bringing out a BET specialist to OPL to show students and their families a presentation on a BET's life and talk about some of the myths and facts that deal with them. The first presentation will be held at Oxford Public Library before moving out to the Polly Trail to use ultrasonic echolocation devices to hear the sounds bats make. Afterwards, everyone will be rewarded with Yates cider and donuts. Registration is required to attend the event. If interested, RSVP with Brain Balance at 248-716-5400. A list of dates and events that are a bit closer are coming up next week. Starting on October 16th, OAYA Addison Oxford Youth Assistance is holding a fundraiser. All proceeds go towards their Youth Recognition Night and mindfulness and movement programs. All programs are offered to second graders camp and family education programs. To sign up, visit oxfordaddisonya.org or contact Renee at 248-969-5187. Sunday, October 20th, Oxford High School DECA students plan to come together with K9 Stray Rescue to help dogs get adopted. The event is actually a fundraiser that will include food, inflatables, a cutest dog contest, activities, and vendors. All money raised will be going to the shelter for renovation and spacing. The event will be held at Seymour Lake Park from 11 until 3 p.m. In board news, if you missed last week's meeting, here's a highlight from the discussion.
Legislative update on Read by Grade 3. The legislation was introduced in 2016, and when our current governor came on, she was really determined to possibly see it go away. That has not happened, so we have to move forward in making sure that we are on track with it. When the legislation was introduced in 2016, the idea was that we would be looking at identifying students who are struggling in reading and writing, and based on their performance by the end of third grade, look to see if they would be eligible to be retained as a result of that. And we have had some time to put some parameters in place before this law takes into effect, and this is the first year, so the end of this school year would be the first year that we would be considering students for retention possibly. And there is a good cause exemption that we really need to make parents aware of that I'm going to get into a little bit later in the slide. So first of all, Ken and I did present a little bit about MTSS last year, and this really, I know that this law is controversial, but I really find the silver lining in it, in that it really has helped a lot of schools, including us, really look at our processes for improving instruction at multiple tiers, right? So what does every student have access to? What are our students getting if they need a little more help, and then even more than that? And so while there are some maybe negative ramifications implied with the law, I've really focused on how it's really forced us to look at strengthening the things that are actually in our control. So that begins by strengthening our Tier 1 instruction. That's the instruction that every student has access to on a daily basis. So something that's made me really proud is every presentation that we've had so far. You've heard mention of our elementary curriculum, the phonics units, which are a response to the needs, our reading and writing units. We are really getting in alignment with that, and that is a powerful thing that all students have access to on a daily basis. Putting in classroom libraries, that was something that was done before I came on. About $500,000 was spent to put libraries in every classroom in the elementary level. This year, we really rolled out the essential practices. So working with the principals, we rolled out what our...
Before we go, be sure to stay tuned for a new segment with Splash Zone where they teach me how to swim in just a few weeks. That'll be interesting for sure, so don't miss out. But that about does it for school news this week. Next up is Cody Wright with School Sports.
How's it going, Wildcat fans? Cody Wright back here once again with this week's Sports Report. We are reaching the end of our regular season for fall sports, and postseason action is just around the corner. Let's not waste any more time and dive right in. First off, the boys football team has continued to struggle after falling to Clarkston 33-28 here at home. The boys then took on Stony Creek for homecoming, which ended with the Wildcats falling 27-14. It's a rebuilding year, so we have a lot to look forward to in the coming years. The season record now sits at 1-5, coming off of 3 consecutive home games. The boys now hit the road. On the bright side, though, the boys tennis team has captured the OAA Blue title in the regular season and the OAA League tournament. The boys have an overall record of 5-0, which ended in the 8-0 sweep against Ferndale. Lying ahead is postseason action. The boys will be competing in the MHSAA regional tournament at Clarkston High School. So best of luck to all the athletes and coaches on that. Also, the girls swim and dive team finished in 6th place at the Oakland County Championships at Lake Orion High School. Finishing in 6th is the best finish the program has had in its 14 years of play. The girls currently are sitting at the top of the OAA white standings with a 3-0 record and are set to take on Troy, who has a record of 3-2 here at home. There will be more on that next week. Also, the boys soccer team is also about to dive into some postseason action. The boys had a 4-game losing streak that was tough to break after a close but sure loss to Rochester 1-0. However, the regular season did end on a high note after all, taking on Fenton here at home for senior night. Final score was 2-1. The boys' overall record ending at 2-5. And last but certainly not least, the boys and girls cross-country teams both competed in the OAA County Championships. The girls finishing in 10th place with 342 points. The boys finishing in 12th place with 353 points. Up next for both teams is the Oxford Invitationals, which takes place at Oxford Hills Golf Course. There will be more on that next week. Anyhow, that's all for this week's report. For any more info on these events and more, go to oxfordathletics.org. Plenty of game breakdowns, statistics, and more all right there for you to find. Once again, that is oxfordathletics.org. While you're at it, might as well check us out at OCCTV.org. All of our coverage of these events and more can be found on our YouTube page, which you can access through the website. Once again, that is OCCTV.org. And that's all for me this week. I want to thank you all for watching and remind you all to tune in next time. But until then, I'm Cody Wright. Go Wildcats!
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, drivers in the U.S. may one day no longer have to crane their necks to check their blind spots if regulators agree to let high-tech cameras and screens replace the humble side view mirror. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said in a notice on October 9th that it is seeking public and industry input on whether to allow so-called camera monitoring systems to replace rear and side view mirrors mandated by long-standing U.S. auto safety standards. Tesla Incorporated and the Alliance of Automobile Manufacturers in 2014 petitioned the agency to allow cameras to be used in lieu of traditional mirrors, citing improved fuel economy through reduced aerodynamic drag as the primary benefit. Cameras feeding one or more displays inside the car could also improve rear and side visibility, the Auto Alliance has said. Toyota Motor Corporation's Lexus brand rolled out the technology last year on the ES sedan in Japan and is reviewing feedback from drivers. Mirrorless cars, or vehicles that drop old-school glass mirrors in favor of video screens, have long been proposed by stylists and engineers wanting sleeker looks and improved safety. They can also help improve a vehicle's fuel efficiency because the camera setups have lower wind resistance. But NHTSA, which has been studying the possibility for more than a decade, says camera monitoring systems may also introduce new safety risks. A 5-year agency study on the technology on heavy-duty vehicles found display screens were too bright, making it harder for drivers to see objects on the road ahead. NHTSA's 2017 test of a prototype camera monitoring system found it was generally usable in most situations and produced better quality images than mirrors at dusk and dawn. It also found potential flaws, including displays that were too bright at night, distorted images, and camera lenses that would become obscured by raindrops. The comment period will be active for 60 days after the notice is formally published on the Federal Register on October 3rd, and the agency didn't offer a timeline for a final decision. And on our next story, ARM Holdings, or ARM Holdings, the British chip technology firm, is joining with automakers General Motors and Toyota to establish common computing systems for self-driving cars, an effort the companies hope will speed development of the technology. ARM supplies underlying technology for the processors found in today's smartphones, but does not make chips itself. Its ties to the automotive industry go back to the 1990s, when automakers began to add computer chips to vehicles for functions like engine control and diagnostics. The company said it was helping to create the Autonomous Vehicle Computing Consortium, or AVCC, along with the two automakers and the industry suppliers Bosch Corporation, Denso, and Continental AG. Also helping found the group are semiconductor companies NVIDIA Corporation and NXP Semiconductors. With automakers and tech companies working on self-driving vehicles, analysts expect the number of chips in cars to expand. But the current test vehicles being used to develop self-driving software are using the same kind of large electricity-hungry chips found in data centers. The AVCC will be an independent group funded by membership fees from the companies that join. ARM officials said its work will be open to non-members. The group's first task will be to establish a common computing architecture. In our last story, Tesla Incorporated earned its first award from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety as 2 electric vehicles and 1 fuel cell vehicle earned top owners in crash tests. The Tesla Model 3 and Audi e-tron EVs and Hyundai Nexo fuel cell vehicle received the Institute's Top Safety Pick Plus award, while the Chevrolet Bolt EV failed to qualify for a safety pick because of poor headlights. The 2019 Model 3 earned good ratings, the organization's best marks across the board, on a number of crash tests, including the driver's side small overlap front test. On that measurement, the Institute noted that there was a moderate risk of injury to the driver's lower leg, but no other risk to other body parts. Small overlap crash tests account for about 25% of serious driver injuries and deaths that occur in frontal impacts, the Institute said. During the test introduced in 2012, 25% of a vehicle's front end on the driver's side strikes a 5-foot-tall barrier at 40 miles an hour. The vehicles are graded with good, acceptable, marginal, or poor ratings. Vehicles are awarded a Top Safety Pick Plus award if they score good on the passenger side small overlap test and the headlight evaluation. Well, that's it for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways.